All right, I'll try and give a quick summary update of where the markets are from a higher time frame perspective, thought process through this region, where I see the markets over the course of the next few days into the end of the week, and just a general YouTube update for everybody to kind of get eyes on. So the first thing is that we'll start off with the dollar, and I think the dollar is retesting a good level in this region here. So we've got the 4-hour level, we've got the break through the 102.30s, and I think this is a really good retest back in. So good cool off here on the RSI, looks ready to try and push higher. This is the first time that we've actually seen some impulse from the dollar as well. So it's the first time that we've actually kind of started to break this grind lower, and this is the first time we're actually starting to see a little bit of strength developing over the last 4 days or so on the dollar, and I expect that to continue. I think from this position here, the dollar is set up very well to continue the attack on the upside, and we'll see where that lands. The more concerning thing, I think, probably for risk markets in general at the moment is the state of the dollar here with the weekly. So the fact these weekly awesome oscillator divergences are, and this is now locking into place, that's a concern, because each one of these has marked a significant low for the dollar. This one here is kind of, maybe the better hope. I don't know if that's even the right way to look at it, but we get the first rally, which still takes place over several weeks. This basically spans from the first real bounce zone and confirmation through here at the start of February and all the way to the end of the March. So you're basically getting 2 months of uptrending or certainly up moving dollar. And the impact then obviously for risk markets is going to be negative in that regard. We also know that the metals are doing poorly at the moment. Silver closed below the level over here down at the 24, 25s. That's not a great sign for silver. It really should have been locking down this level here as support. We've now just traded into it, lower time frame, retested it here and starting to fall away again. So those markets responding poorly as well. The Nasdaq, on the other hand, is doing very well. So the Nasdaq continuing to just grind higher, and despite this being a piece of shit boring market, it's doing all of the right things. Certainly for me that sat in a long position on it, right? It's doing the things that I would want it to be doing, but the grind is pretty horrific through this region. Nothing else really of note for this. It's just chugging along. It's just doing its back and forth. It's doing its little climb higher. It's having a rejection. It's doing the same again. And it's a pretty boring market. But higher time frames, it still looks in really good shape here, and hopefully up towards take profit one. Now, the big stuff, the big crypto stuff. BTC, meh. Caught below the 3-day level. That's the nasty one through here. So caught below the 3-day level. So these lows here at 27.2s, caught below that, struggling to get any real momentum or push to the upside and to clear this region. And so, right now still obviously a more bearish or expectant of downside approach that I have through this region. I've gone on enough about the daily structure changing, so I was entering the downtrend through here by creating a lower low here against this former low from April. So we're now in that downtrending structure on BTC, and therefore expecting or hoping for at least the mid 24s to be tapped through this region. As of right now, anything that's coming back above 27.2 seems to be being sold into, but again, we have a very limited data set in order for me to make that kind of broad assumption at this point in time. The other one then is ETH. ETH on the 12-hour, and let's go to a chart that doesn't have my trade on. ETH on the 12-hour through here is basically doing what we expect a downtrend to be doing, and we can actually take the 4-hour picture for this as well. It does a very good job. So we had this original level here. We got the spike up and the clearance of basically everything from all the way back to mid-April. We had a very strong negative reaction from that. That was a couple of weekends ago. We fell back underneath the level, retested, now as resistance, sold off, swept the highs, sold off, and now we're back at this resistance point here. So this is a really important resistance region for ETH and a former support region, and you can see that very clearly here on the 12-hour. So this is an area that we spent a lot of time trading above but failed to close above until here. And this inevitably, well, I say inevitably, this eventually led to the high over here at 2100s. And on the way back down, this has also been the support region once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, finally breaks through. So what we're doing at the moment is obviously retesting and moving into this zone. Now, if we start flipping this zone back, Then we've got a relatively interesting kind of bullish picture on ETH, because we can flip to the 3-day through here. We can start looking at the position of the RSI, and this being a kind of a recovery period, and does still really, trading not too far off that kind of weekly pivot zone that we have, which is really just through here around, the 1890s, 1900s. So we're not actually too far off that zone. So that big weekly rejection and push down hasn't yet happened, despite the weekly looking horrific. We haven't really had that big push away yet. So this is still kind of, for me, okay through this region. I don't mind the price action through here, but I think that 12-hour level is really important to reclaim and recapture. A lot of lower time frame chop, especially today. Today's been a really bad day for the chop through here. So just lots of grinding back and forth, making a high, selling off, making a high, selling off. So lots of nasty price action through here. You've probably got a nice diagonal that you can try and use that, ETH is taking some support at this moment in time. If this starts to break, we may get the impulse down to the next support region, which I think is probably down at the low 1700s. So we might just end up doing exactly what we've been doing here through this level, but obviously first thought process would be holding it as support. But these are really the levels that I'm looking at for now. I think if ETH fails to break through here at the 1825 pluses, then the next step is to come back down to the 1700s, and that being a reactionary point then for the market. Alts acting independently. Some are strong, some are weak. LDO has been fantastic in terms of movement to the upside. So there's a lot of kind of diversity in the way the alts are playing out, and the strength of the alts and the weakness of the alts. So if you're kind of head down into the alt space, then I think you can probably make some relatively decent trades and look for value among some of those shitcoins. For me right now, I'm only interested in taking swing positions on the market. I'm not really interested in kind of picking scraps of value up from the lower time frames on where we are now. I'm throwing some micro time frame stuff around, but aside from that, I'm not really interested in operating too much on the lower time frames through here. The higher time frame is certainly in a position now where I think that it's largely going to be a sideways market, and until things kind of even out and I see some change in the market momentum, specifically on ETH, then I'm just going to be sitting on my hands. I think this is a period of time where you want to prioritize not losing money and waiting for the next opportunity that comes around where there's free money lying on the floor and you just walk over and pick it up. That for me feels as though, if I could summarize the current market and my current feelings towards it, that's basically where we are. I think we've re-entered, kind of the choppy lower time frame environment, but we are still selling off quite aggressively and locking down these former support levels now as resistance. And again, ETH being the example through here. So if you're hyper focused on alts, probably value for you. If you're focusing on BTC and ETH, you're going to have to work really hard to try and find the opportunity in the markets currently and be very nimble in terms of your positioning. For me, like I said, focus is on not over trading, not kind of succumbing to the addiction of trying to make trades and force value through here, and instead wait until the market flattens out a little bit and gives opportunity for those free money pickups that I will very much enjoy taking again.